Hello students, this is Dr. D and I'm here today to talk to you about drafting your first draft. Now I know this has been an interesting process for some of you. You're thinking, we've been in this class for 2 weeks, we're halfway through, and I still have not gotten the opportunity to work on my actual piece of writing that I want to do. So I want to remind you that all the work you do in the pre-writing and in the drafting process is going to help you produce, in the end, a much better writing product. So I want you to think about it as a front-loaded process. I think many of you, your first draft that you do, that's what you submit to the professors. That is not going to get you a very good grade. So there's several other steps in the process after you do this draft. You're going to revise it, you're going to edit it, and then you're finally going to publish it. So it has a lot of steps to it. But here we are at the drafting process. So you might say, what is drafting? Drafting is when you take your ideas and you put them into the paper format. This is very exciting times for you. I know you've been working hard, collecting all of this information, thinking about what you're going to say, and now you're ready to put it in the format. Now, APA is the format that we use in the MSW program. Lots of other MSW programs use that as well. Many research journals use that as well. So you've gotten a book called the Publication Manual of the American Psychological Association. We call it the APA Manual 6th edition. And in that manual, you will find that a research experiment paper is a little bit different than a literature review paper. In the APA, they are focused more on research experiments. So on the left-hand side of this slide, you'll see the process and the sections that would go there. You've got an abstract, an introduction, a method, results, discussion, and references. And so that is the format. In a literature review, which is really what most of you are doing for this class, you're going to have an abstract, an introduction, and a body, which includes the population, the studies, the results, and the findings that you found. Then it has a conclusion, which includes a discussion, and then you have a reference. So it's a similar format, but it's a little bit different. So I wanted to let you know that those are different and show you those side by side. Now, in your careers, many of you will potentially do an experiment. If nothing else, you might do a single subject design experiment as you're evaluating your social work practice. But you may not or may not write it up. You may or may not. I don't know. But you could if you wanted to, because I'm going to teach you how to do both of these. But we're just going to go through, we're considering right now that you're doing a literature review because that's what most of you are going to do. In this class, you're not going to have time to do an experiment. So what is this abstract that I mentioned? Both sides have an abstract. In the APA format, your first thing you see on the paper is an abstract, and it talks about these particular sections. You're going to have the problem under study, you're going to have study eligibility criteria, the types of participants, the results, any important mitigating factors, they're called moderators in the APA book, and conclusions with limitations, and then any implications for theory, policy, and practice. So that's what your abstract is going to be. It's very short though. It's like one paragraph, and you're going to include keywords at the bottom of it. And I've got a reference here of where you can look and see where they talk about the abstract. And depending on the type of research paper that you're writing, there's different types of requirements for the abstract. So you might want to check that out. So you have an abstract, then you have an introduction. During the introduction, you're going to introduce the problem under study. You know, all of you have a problem that you're looking at. We've got different topics in here. I know you all have been looking at each other's discussion boards. But the questions that you need to answer in the introduction are follow here. Why is this an important problem in the first place? How does this work relate to the relevant sources that you located? So How does your hypothesis relate to this other information you found? What are your hypotheses and objectives during this whole process? How does this link to theory? What are the theoretical and practical implications of this study, whether it's a literature review or not? Why are you doing it, and what does it mean? What is the findings that you determined to be? What is that going to mean for this population? So that's the introduction. Then you move to the body. The main thing about the body is the organization of it, because you're going to describe your population and the problem. You're going to organize the studies that you found, because this is a literature review, into clear categories based on the information you gathered. So, I'm having you do a research grid and an outline. They're very helpful here. And I know you have those done. So this is a further way for you to organize it. As you're writing it, you may say, oh, well, these really don't go together. I need to change and move things around. That is fine. This is the time in your first draft to refine your outline. And you have to discuss what you found about this topic. So you need to develop your ideas and go into more depth about what you have found. That's what the body does. Then you've got a conclusion. The conclusion is very important. These are the implications of what you have found. What does this information mean for the population under study? What does it mean for you as a social worker as you're going into practice? Was your hypothesis supported? Did what you think was the case? Was it actually the case? Were your findings the same or different from other research that you read about and other sources? What are barriers to implementing any of these ideas that you found? And what other problems have you found? And do the findings that you have create new problems possibly for this for this population? Now, do you have to answer every single one of these questions? I would say a good conclusion does answer all those questions. So perhaps this would be a good way to make sure that all of these are in your outline as you're going through. But is this the end? It is the end of your paper, except for one more thing. And I hope you all remember there's a reference page that is required. Now, in the reference page, it is very important that you use a reference page. You need to acknowledge the work of previous scholars and provide a reliable way to locate the work. I know during my relevant references grading, several times I would click on a link and it wouldn't take me to an article or to a website. It would take me to a search page, or it would take me nowhere. It's very important that your DOIs and your links and anything like that is appropriate and goes where it needs to go. So you need to have someone else double check that for you. You call it references. On this example to the right, you see references is underlined. It's not supposed to be underlined. That's not correct. So I don't want to see you underlining references. I did it like that, so I want you to see that you're not supposed to do that. You'll see this in our syllabi. I pulled this reference list directly from a syllabus. However, that is just the formatting we use for our syllabi and is not something that you need to do in your papers. So do not underline references. And I encourage you to proofread your references. People don't proofread. It comes up in red if there's a misspelling or something. So check it out. Make sure it's not misspelled or things. There's periods where there need to be periods and commas where there need to be commas. See, I see a mistake right here as I'm looking at this. See where it says Journal of Sociology and Social Welfare? That's supposed to be a comma and it's a period. That would be a -1 for me. Anyway, I would encourage you to start creating the references list, as I mentioned in the last PowerPoint. Now, you start creating that at the very beginning. As soon as you get a reference, you put it in this format. If you're sure you're going to use it, put it in this format and start creating your reference page. Another thing you can do is use Word to do that. Let me pull something up here I want to show you real quick. If you go to File, and you go to Open, and you go to Recent Documents. Well, yeah, no, let's not go there. Let's go to a new document and search for online templates. Put APA. Look at that. You're going to get your report format right there. It's totally pulled up for you in Word. How nice is that? All you have to do is erase some of this stuff and fill in what you want. For example, I might want to I'm doing a paper about Hispanic population needs. No, I'm going to put language access because that's more specific. Remember, it can't be more than 50 characters. But what I want to show you is this for references. You click on references up here and you go to manage sources. Look, I have the APA manual in here. So I'm going to copy this. Now I'm going to put it in this document. And so now if I'm going through, I've got into the title, so now you go down through here. If I want to add APA, I can insert a citation. Ooh, it's not letting it do that. So what I want, here is my bibliography entry here, and here's my citation. So I'm going to close it, and I'm not sure why it's not letting me say the selection. Let's see. Okay. I was playing with it earlier and it worked just fine. Okay, so we're going to we're not going to save it. But I did it on here, and so if I went here like this and I want to insert the citation, it pulls up and look, it puts it right in there in the APA format. Now, does it always get it right? Pretty much, but sometimes it may mess it up. So you need to be prepared to double check their references. So you kind of need to know a little bit about it. But as I said, you just go here and you can insert a citation, and if you didn't have any citations in there, you would just go to add a new source, and you would determine if it's a journal article, it's an article in a periodical, is it conference proceedings, what is it? And you just click it there. Then, it just says placeholder 1 because I don't have a resource. So you could also do a placeholder 1 and just put some basic information in there. And then once you go back and you add a new source, and you'll put the author is, I'm going to put it's me. And I'm going to put the title is helping Hispanic clients with language access. And then I might be doing that in a journal of social work in the year 2014. And pages 123 to 126. Okay. And so there you go. I've now added in this new resource, and I don't even have to worry about it. Now, what do I need to do with this? I need to delete it. Or I can edit the citation and put information in there. But what I'm going to do is just delete it. I'm not sure how to delete it. There we go. Go to the left. Anyway, play with Word. It's going to be useful and it's going to help you. Now, just a last note about me and my order of creation. I might be a little bit weird, but I create documents and articles and my writing pieces in a different order. I do my references first, as I mentioned to you. Then I do my body, because I've got it already ready for my outline. Then I do my conclusion, because then I've read through everything and put it all together and I can make a conclusion with a discussion statement and work on that. And then lastly, I do my introduction. This is my favorite order of creation. You may create in any order you prefer. But for the purposes of this assignment, if I created in my typical order, that would mean I would have part of the next assignment done because references are the last part, but it would already be done. So there's nothing wrong with you going a little ahead and creating your reference list ahead of time. The introduction and the body are due for the next Blackboard, and so if the conclusion and introduction aren't until, are for that. It's not the conclusion and the introduction, it's the conclusion and the references are for the next Blackboard. So, but you can do that however you want to do. It's up to you. but I just want to let you know you can create in whatever order that you want, and that will be useful to you. I hope this was helpful for you, and I hope that it wasn't too long, but I really wanted to show you the features of Word, and I encourage you to play with that. I haven't really used it that much. You can see I was kind of floundering around a little bit with it, but I am going to start using it quite a bit. So I will let you know how that goes. But even I am constantly learning. That is something we will all do.